Quizzy. Today we're talking about dinosaurs. And which one is the most dangerous?
Subscribe!
Let's find out together. Which dinosaur had a sharp knife on its thumb? Iguanodon or Diplodocus? Answer: Iguanodon. The Iguanodon was a guy with a secret weapon. He had sharp spikes on his thumbs, which scientists originally mistakenly placed on his nose. It turned out to be a built-in pocket knife for self-defense. If a predator bothered him, Iguanodon would just give a thumbs up, and the bully would immediately stop laughing. He could walk on either 2 or 4 legs, like a real prehistoric transformer. It's pretty handy when you want to munch on tasty grass and run away from danger quickly. Which dinosaur had an armored skull as thick as a brick? Pachycephalosaurus or Velociraptor? The winner is Pachycephalosaurus. Pachycephalosaurus was basically a walking crash helmet of the ancient world. On top of its head sat a solid bony dome, thicker than any encyclopedia you own. These guys were constantly headbutting each other to decide who got the extra serving of ferns for lunch. If he accidentally ran into a wall, the wall would definitely lose that fight in the first round. He's the perfect dinosaur for anyone who always forgets their helmet before riding a scooter. A true hardhead who definitely had more bone in his skull than actual thoughts. Which predator had real bull-like horns on its head? Tyrannosaurus or Carnotaurus? Correct choice? Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus was a meat-eating bull that looked terrifying but had one funny little secret. Sharp horns stuck out above his eyes, making him look like a prehistoric little devil. But the funniest part was his arms. They were even shorter than a T-Rex's and couldn't even bend at the elbows. However, he ran faster than almost any other large predator, like a real racing car. His tactic was simple: sprint, butt, and bite. He was a true athlete with tiny arms who could never even scratch the top of his own head. Which dinosaur looked like a giant featherless ostrich? Ankylosaurus or Gallimimus? The answer is Gallimimus. Gallimimus looked like a giant chicken that forgot to grow wings, but spent way too much time on leg day. It had a long neck and a toothless beak, just like a modern bird. If there were an Olympics in the Mesozoic Era, he would have taken all the gold medals for sprinting. These guys lived in herds and were always in a hurry, their heels flashing through the bushes. They probably just didn't want to test how sharp the neighbor T-Rex's teeth were that morning. A perfect example that fast legs are often way more useful for survival than fancy horns. Which dinosaur had the longest arms with massive claws? Spinosaurus or Deinocheirus? Correct. Deinocheirus. Deinocheirus was a major mystery for scientists for a long time because they only found its 3-meter-long arms. Everyone thought it was a scary monster, but it turned out to be a shaggy creature with a duck-like beak and a hump on its back. Its claws looked like giant scythes, but it probably used them to dig up tasty roots in the swamp. Imagine a giant duck-camel hybrid with Freddy Krueger's hands. That is our hero right there. It's the weirdest appearance in history, making even the grumpiest paleontologists crack a smile. Which dinosaur had claws as long as your entire arm? Therizinosaurus or Triceratops? The correct choice is Therizinosaurus. Therizinosaurus is the ultimate nightmare for any manicure specialist. His hand claws were nearly a meter long, like 3 giant sabers. Despite this terrifying look, he was a peaceful vegetarian who just liked to pull tree branches closer to his mouth. He looked like a giant fluffy bird that forgot claws were for hunting, not just for show. If he tried to type a text message on a smartphone, he would puncture the screen in 10 places at once. The clawiest guy in the world who actually just wanted to munch on some leaves in peace. Which dinosaur weighed as much as 15 African elephants combined? Stegosaurus or Argentinosaurus? The answer we take is Argentinosaurus. Argentinosaurus was a true heavyweight whose steps made mountains tremble and scared all the neighbors. He was so massive that his tail alone was longer than an entire school bus. To feed such a giant body, he had to munch on grass 24 hours a day, with almost no breaks for naps. If he accidentally stepped on your favorite toy, it would turn into molecules in a fraction of a second. A real walking island who never looked where he was going because his legs were the size of entire tree trunks. Which tiny dinosaur actually had 4 wings? Pterodactyl or Microraptor? The correct one is Microraptor. Microraptor was nature's attempt to create a superbird out of a predatory dinosaur. He had feathers not just on his arms but on his legs too. So he flew using 4 wings at once. He was about the size of a crow and could glide from tree to tree like a fluffy black hang glider. His feathers shimmered in the sun like a modern raven's, catching the eyes of all the forest ladies. Other dinosaurs probably giggled at his feathered pants until he flew right over their heads into the clouds. A tiny but very stylish pilot of the ancient era. Which flying reptile was as tall as a real-life giraffe? Quetzalcoatlus or seagull? Answer: Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus was the largest creature that ever dared to take flight in the sky. When standing on the ground, his head was taller than a full-grown giraffe with a long and flexible neck. His wingspan was as wide as a small airplane, yet he could run quite fast on the ground using all 4 limbs. Imagine a giant overgrown stork that could swallow a crocodile in one gulp without even choking. A true king of the sky who terrified everyone crawling and running far below him. Which dinosaur was the very first one ever discovered by humans? Megalosaurus or T-Rex? Correct. Megalosaurus. Megalosaurus is the honorary grandfather of all paleontological discoveries in the world. When people found its massive bones 200 years ago, they didn't even know the word dinosaur and thought they were giant human remains. He was a large predator, similar to a T-Rex, but lived much earlier. His discovery actually started the global craze for digging and searching for monsters in the dirt. If it wasn't for this guy, we might still think that only fairy tale dragons lived in the ancient past. A true legend that started all our dinomania. Now for the most difficult challenge, find 6 differences between the left and the right picture. Let's begin. How many differences have you already found? How are you doing? Do you need my help? Let's look for them together. First difference. In the left picture, there is no zebra, but in the right picture, there is a zebra. Second difference. The flamingo in the left picture is pink, but in the right picture, it is orange. Third difference. In the left picture, there are 2 palm trees in the right corner, but in the right picture, there is only 1 palm tree. Fourth difference. In the left picture, there is 1 reed in the left corner, but in the right picture, there are 2 reeds. Fifth difference. In the left picture, there are 3 stones in the water, but in the right picture, there are 2 stones. Sixth difference. In the left picture, there is a flower, but in the right picture, there is no flower. I hope you found the same differences. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like.